Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm joined by the Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in Charge, Melissa Godbold, here in the Oklahoma City resident office that also oversees Tulsa. And to my right is Tulsa Police Chief Wendell Franklin. Thank you both for being here. We are here today to announce a federal grand jury indictment that was returned this week against Tulsa Police Officer Latoya Dythe and a co-conspirator, Devin Jones, for conspiring to lie on a federal firearms form and for purchasing said firearm after lying on that form. This two-count indictment charges both of these individuals with violations of federal law that are felonies and violations that we consider very serious, not only as part of our 2150 initiative targeting gun-related violations, but violations that we see as important to charge to prevent future violence. I can tell you that today, Officer Dythe self-surrendered to authorities at approximately 11 a.m. She made an appearance today in federal court where she appeared in front of a magistrate judge at 2 p.m. and entered a plea of not guilty. At that time, the indictment was unsealed, and Officer Dythe will be, as I understand, released on bond. Her co-conspirator, Devin Jones, is currently detained at the David L. Moss Detention Center on state charges. These allegations, as set forth in the grand jury's indictment, are as follows. On April 11th of this year, Latoya Dythe and her co-conspirator and her boyfriend at the time, Devin Jones, entered the Bass Pro Shop in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, here in the Northern District of Oklahoma. That Bass Pro Shop is a federally licensed firearms dealer, and in order to purchase a pistol, Latoya Dythe completed a form and was provided cash to purchase that firearm by Devin Jones. As Dythe handled that firearm, the Bass Pro Shop employee specifically asked her whether she was purchasing the firearm for herself or as a straw purchaser for another person. Ms. Dythe at that point stated that she was a police officer. She presented credentials indicating that she was a police officer and that she fully understood the applicable federal laws as they pertain to straw purchasers. Using her apparent authority there as a police officer, she was then provided money by Devin Jones, and she purchased the firearm. After purchasing the firearm, she and Mr. Jones went outside to the parking lot where she then handed the firearm to Mr. Jones. As a sworn police officer, I can tell you there is no excuse for Ms. Dythe to have lied on that federal firearms form in order to purchase that gun for Mr. Jones. I believe that all members of law enforcement, those that voluntarily take the oath to serve the public, to serve the community, that they do so understanding that there's an obligation. And that is an obligation not only to enforce the law, but to abide by the law. I believe that we have a reservoir of trust that we share with the public. And it is the duty of every police officer, of every prosecutor, of every person in the justice system to ensure that that reservoir never runs dry. Sadly, we see that on occasion, there are those among us who will deplete from that reservoir. And it is our job to replenish it. We replenish it by showing that we can hold accountable those who break the law, no matter where they work or what uniform they wear. There is a reason that Lady Justice wears a blindfold, and that is because no one is above the law, and we will do our jobs to hold those who violate it accountable. With regard to this particular investigation, Tulsa Police Chief Wendell Franklin and his team upon discovering the allegations of what occurred, came to the United States Attorney's Office, made us aware of the allegations, and then not only cooperated with the ensuing federal investigation, but actively assisted and participated in that investigation. Chief, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your promotion of transparency and accountability. I want to close my portion of the remarks by making clear that this is an indictment of a police officer and her co-conspirator. This is not an indictment of the police department. These are the actions of an officer who is named in this indictment and who will now face those charges in a court of law. Like all defendants, Ms. Deith is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. And the United States, working with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Tulsa Police Department, will pursue this case just as it does every other case, to the fullest extent of the law so that justice can be achieved. With that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to FBI Special Agent in Charge, Melissa Godbold, for some comments about the FBI's investigation into this matter. SAC Godbold.
Good afternoon. I want to echo the U.S. Attorney's comments and thank you all for coming. No one likes having to make the type of announcement that we are making today, but it is the type of announcement we need to make. Our system of justice is based on the cornerstones of trust and accountability. Without that, we have nothing. The community places trust in law enforcement to do the right thing in the right way all day, every day. And because of the trust that is placed in those of us who wear the badge, we owe the public the obligation of accountability. That is what today is about. Officer Deith, according to the charges, violated that trust. She knowingly bought a gun for someone else and lied about it. She knew she was breaking the law, and now she's being held accountable for her actions. So that is what this case is about. But let's talk about what this case is not about. I do not want this case today to cast a shadow over the men and women who, each day, put their badges on and kiss their families goodbye, knowing there is a real danger they won't make it home. I want the community to know that they can and should have trust in their local police, and that goes especially for the Tulsa Police Department. That is why I said at the top of my remarks that this was an announcement we needed to make. We need the public to know that there are stern and swift consequences to breaking the law and violating the trust of the community. Be sure that the FBI takes no joy bringing cases like this. But I want the public to know that we will bring cases like this when we have the evidence to prove them. I want to thank the Northern District United States Attorney's Office, the Tulsa Police Department, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives for their work and cooperation in this investigation. I'll now turn the microphone over to Chief Franklin.
Just some quick background on how we got to this point. Investigators with the Tulsa Police Department in our crime gun unit received this case and began working this case like they would any other, connecting the dots. Inside of the crime gun unit, we work side by side with federal authorities. This case fits the 2150 initiative that we stood here a few months back in partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office and spoke about. LaToya Dife is currently suspended without pay from the Tulsa Police Department. We will let the due process run its course and work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. We'll continue working with our federal partners to ensure that this case is properly gets its justice. I am committed to the integrity of this department, and our integrity has to be uncompromised. If you ask most officers, they will tell you that I am a very firm individual. I have high expectations. If the expectation is 100%, I want 100%. When we uncover inappropriate conduct, we fully investigate that conduct. We provide the necessary resources and work in partnership with whatever authorities are needed to conclude a case. This right here today makes it difficult. We are already climbing a mountain. We already have an uphill battle in law enforcement. This is one officer, but it tarnishes the good work that's being done by the multitude of officers upon our department that's wearing this badge with honor, putting this badge on each and every day and going to work. We have to work that much harder. I am committed to Tulsa. I'm committed to this department, and I'm committed to ensuring that this department is trustworthy, is transparent, and is a beacon of light that other departments can look to. I look forward to the continued partnership with our federal partners here. We will continue collaborating and working together as we have throughout the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Certainly, it's moments like this I do want to acknowledge. I believe that leadership matters, and Chief Franklin's leadership in this moment has been exemplary. It has not only, I hope, shown the public that he is serious when he talks about building trust with the public, but he is serious about protecting the integrity not only of his department, but of that sacred trust that he has with the people of the city of Tulsa. He mentioned the crime gun unit, and that's where this case originated. I have personally worked with that unit of officers, and they are some of the best investigators that we have in the United States. They go out and they work hard day in and day out to keep our city safe. And when they came across this case, they treated it like any other. And there have been no better partners than the Tulsa Police Department and the crime gun unit in this and many other cases.